The night was heavy with silence, the kind that presses against your skin and makes every sound echo louder than it should. On a lonely highway cutting through the forests of northern Alaska, the headlights of a single car sliced the darkness. Inside the vehicle sat Ethan Marlowe, a quiet, sharp-minded young man of 23. He was headed to the University of Fairbanks, where a future in medicine awaited him. His parents had always called him a dreamer, the kind who could fix broken things, not just with his hands, but with his mind. The road stretched endlessly, black ribbon twisting through forests that seemed to close in tighter with every mile. Ethan's car heater rattled, struggling against the biting cold, and he found himself humming under his breath, trying to keep awake. Then, through the misting windshield, he noticed a figure standing by the roadside. The stranger was tall, shoulders hunched, with a duffel bag slung across one arm. He wore a worn leather jacket, the kind that looked older than the man himself, and his face was shadowed beneath a pulled-down cap. Ethan slowed his car, debating. The highway was empty. No other cars had passed for hours. His father's voice echoed in his head. Never stop for anyone on these roads at night. But Ethan wasn't the kind of man to leave someone stranded. He rolled down his window slightly. "You need a ride?" Ethan asked cautiously. The man stepped forward, his smile faint, almost hesitant. "Yeah, heading north." "Appreciated." Ethan hesitated only a second longer before unlocking the passenger door. The stranger climbed in, his presence filling the small car with an unfamiliar weight. His duffel bag hit the floor with a dull thud. They drove in silence at first, the only sounds the hum of the engine and the whisper of wind scraping the car's frame. Ethan glanced sideways. The stranger's eyes were sharp, restless, almost like he was studying Ethan, memorizing every detail of his face. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. The man's lips curved into a slow grin. "Call me Jack. Just Jack. Nothing more." Ethan nodded, though a strange chill coiled in his stomach. Something about this man felt off, but he tried to shake it off. After all, it was just a ride. A simple kindness. Minutes turned into miles. Jack leaned back, stretching, his movements casual but his eyes always flicking to Ethan, like he was watching more than listening. "So," Jack said finally, voice low, "why drive alone in the middle of the night?" Ethan forced a chuckle. "Heading back to school. Med program?" Jack tilted his head, studying him with unsettling interest. "Smart kid, huh? Doctors make good money. People trust them. That's powerful." The way he said it made Ethan's hands tighten around the steering wheel. For a moment, silence stretched again, thicker this time. The forest outside seemed endless, every tree like a shadow waiting to move. Ethan thought about the headlines. He'd read weeks ago stories of young men disappearing along highways, just like this one. Some were found later, some never were. Ethan tried to steady his breathing. Maybe he was just being paranoid. Maybe Jack was just another drifter, grateful for a ride. But then, as the road curved into deeper woods, Jack leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. "You ever wonder what it feels like to have someone's life in your hands?" Ethan's pulse quickened. His instincts screamed. He knew then that this wasn't just a stranger. This was something else entirely, something dangerous, and he was trapped, alone, in the dark. The days following Polly's disappearance turned the small town of Petaluma into a place of fear and uncertainty. Families who once felt safe behind their locked doors now checked windows and doors obsessively, wondering who could be lurking in the shadows. The police worked tirelessly, interviewing neighbors, teachers, and friends, piecing together the events of that fateful night. Each detail mattered, from the faint footprints in Polly's room to the fibers that hinted at the abductor's vehicle. Volunteers joined the search, scouring vacant lots and wooded areas, hoping against hope to find the 12-year-old alive. Meanwhile, Polly's friends Gillian and Kate were shaken to their core. They recounted the terror of that night to investigators. A man, unmasked, standing in Polly's doorway, forcing them into a room, tying their hands and feet, and telling them to count as Polly was taken away. Their vivid testimonies helped create a sketch, giving the police the first glimpse of a suspect. Yet, despite the clarity of their account, the trail seemed to grow colder with each passing day. The FBI joined the search, intensifying the efforts. Agents coordinated with local police, canvassing neighborhoods, checking cars, and following every lead, no matter how small. Even the small traces, the piece of silk from Polly's room, the unusual fibers were meticulously analyzed, each one a possible key to unlocking the mystery. But as weeks passed, the search began to take a toll on everyone involved. Families prayed, volunteers grew exhausted, and investigators felt the crushing weight of responsibility. Every lead that failed to yield results added to the tension. The sense that time was slipping away, and with it, Polly's chance of being found alive. The community, meanwhile, became a hive of fear and speculation. Neighbors reported sightings of suspicious men wandering near homes, unaware that their small observations could hold the key to the investigation. Every shadow at night, every unknown visitor became a potential threat. The police encouraged vigilance, urging the public to report anything unusual. Social efforts, though limited by the era, this was 1993, before social media could spread information, instantly began to spread awareness. Flyers were posted, press conferences held, and even local celebrities lent their voices to the search, hoping to amplify the reach of Polly's case. As the days stretched into weeks, the hope of finding Polly alive began to clash with the grim reality that she could be in serious danger. The pressure mounted on law enforcement, the family, and the community, and somewhere the kidnapper remained free, blending into the world, watching, waiting, and calculating. Weeks passed since the frantic search for Emily had begun, yet every lead seemed to vanish into thin air. The local community remained on edge, their quiet streets now haunted by the thought of a lurking predator. Detectives combed through every shred of evidence collected so far, fibers, footprints, and that elusive silk fragment, but nothing concrete pointed directly to the kidnapper. Meanwhile, Emily's friends, who had witnessed the abduction, were struggling with the trauma, replaying the harrowing night over and over in their minds. Their recollections, though fragmented, were crucial in piecing together the identity of the man who had so violently shattered the calm of their neighborhood. The FBI took the lead. Determined to narrow down the suspect pool, they examined missing persons reports, criminal records, and local disturbances, hoping to find a connection. Anything that could shed light on the abduction. They interviewed neighbors again, retracing the stranger's movements on the night of the crime. A few reported seeing a man lurking near the wooded area behind Emily's house. His behavior odd and suspicious, though at the time they had dismissed it as a random passerby. Now, each small detail seemed magnified in importance, every glance and movement scrutinized for a hint of the truth. Meanwhile, Emily's parents were slowly unraveling under the weight of uncertainty. Her mother, clutching the bedspread Emily had left behind, replayed every interaction, wondering if she had missed something, a sign, a warning. Her father tirelessly coordinated with volunteers, scouring the outskirts of the neighborhood and abandoned lots, hoping to find a trace, a clue, anything that would bring their daughter home. As days turned into weeks, the tension grew, spreading beyond the family to the entire town, which had begun organizing nightly searches, patrols, and watch groups. But amidst this chaos, a chilling thought began to emerge in the investigators' minds. The kidnapper wasn't acting randomly. There was planning, methodical intent behind each movement. The silk fragment, the precise restraint of Emily's friends, the calm manner in which the man executed the abduction all hinted at someone who knew exactly what he was doing. The realization sent a ripple of fear through law enforcement. They weren't dealing with a momentary lapse of judgment, but a predator who had studied, observed, and executed with precision. Detectives worked tirelessly, following the smallest leads. Surveillance photos, car descriptions, and patterns of suspicious activity were logged and cross-referenced. Weeks of painstaking work began to reveal a shadowy figure, someone with a criminal record and a disturbing history, whose movements coincided with the night of Emily's disappearance. Every night brought new anxiety, every knock on the door or ringing phone a surge of hope or dread. And somewhere, hidden behind the veil of everyday life, the kidnapper waited, watching, patient and unrelenting. While the investigation closed, in like a tightening noose, the days following Emily's disappearance grew increasingly tense. The small community was on edge, every parent watching their children like hawks. Meanwhile, the detectives continued piecing together fragments of evidence, each clue adding to the complex puzzle. They studied the palm print found at the scene, the silk fragment from Emily's bedroom, and the mysterious fibers from the suspect's car. Slowly, a shadowy figure began to emerge from the background, someone familiar with the neighborhood but strangely elusive. Detectives discovered that the suspect had been lurking in the area for weeks, seemingly observing the family and their routines. Using the neighborhood sketches and witness statements, they built a timeline of the events leading up to the night Emily vanished. It became clear that this was no random abduction. The perpetrator had planned every step meticulously. The police heightened patrols, but the man's cunning allowed him to avoid direct confrontation, slipping through the fingers of the authorities like smoke. Meanwhile, Emily's friends, traumatized by the ordeal, provided new insights. They recalled subtle details, a strange car idling nearby, a shadow glimpsed in the alley, and a figure who always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. These recollections, combined with the forensic evidence, painted a chilling picture. Emily's abduction was not just a crime, it was a calculated predatory act. The investigation reached a turning point when detectives discovered a hidden trail leading into the wooded area near Emily's neighborhood. Every step forward was met with tension and dread. The possibility of finding her alive was uncertain, but hope persisted. For the first time, a glimmer of clarity emerged. The suspect had left traces that could finally unravel the web of terror that had gripped the town. Days turned into a week, and the pressure on the police intensified. The town was restless, whispers of the mysterious abductor spreading fear through every home. Detectives combed through the evidence again and again, hoping to find a break. Then, a key piece emerged: a surveillance tape from a gas station near the edge of town. It showed a suspicious figure in a dark hoodie, carrying what appeared to be a bundle, driving away in a car matching the fibers found at Emily's house. The lead gave the investigators renewed hope. They analyzed the footage frame by frame, noting the suspect's gait, the car make and model, and the time of departure. Every detail was logged meticulously. Meanwhile, Emily's friends were questioned further, their memories piecing together the suspect's peculiar behavior. Each account revealed the predator's obsessive attention to Emily's routines, demonstrating a chilling level of planning. Amidst this, the community organized search parties, combing nearby forests, abandoned houses, and empty lots. Volunteers carried flashlights into the night, following every rumor and tip. One volunteer stumbled across a shallow dug-up area partially hidden behind thick bushes. Detectives arrived quickly and found traces that matched the suspect's DNA from the scene, proof that the trail was finally leading somewhere. As they followed the trail deeper into the forest, tension mounted. The woods were thick and foreboding, every sound amplified in the stillness. Detectives feared that any misstep could allow the suspect to vanish once again. But with every discovery, the web of clues grew tighter. Emily's abduction was no longer a random act, it was part of a meticulously crafted plan, and the authorities were now closing in on the man responsible. The trail of evidence finally led the detectives to a secluded cabin deep in the outskirts of the forest. Every step was calculated, every breath cautious. They knew the suspect was inside, and Emily's life could hang by a thread. The air was thick with tension, birds silent, the usual forest sounds muted, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Inside the cabin, Emily sat huddled in a corner, eyes wide with fear, her hands bound. The suspect, a man in his late 30s, paced nervously, glancing at the small window as though anticipating someone's arrival. His obsession with control was evident in the meticulous way he had organized the cabin, everything in its place. Traps and alarms hidden in the shadows. Detectives moved in silently, breaking the cabin's perimeter without alerting the suspect. A sudden noise made the man spin around. His eyes met theirs, a mix of shock and defiance in his gaze. The arrest unfolded in tense seconds, the suspect restrained before he could react violently. Emily was freed, trembling but unharmed, finally, able to breathe freely after weeks of terror. The arrest brought relief, but also questions. How had a man so dangerous remained undetected for so long? How many clues had the authorities overlooked in the early days? The investigation revealed layers of deception, manipulation, and meticulous planning that underscored the suspect's chilling intelligence. For Emily and her family, the nightmare was over, but the town would never forget the terror that had gripped it for weeks.